That's my best Kong impression. Kong Skull Island is the newest film directed by Jordan Vogt-Roberts and is starring an all-star cast with Tom Hiddleston, John Goodman, Samuel Jackson, and Brie Larson, just to name just a few people in this film. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about the film. I want to talk about a little bit of the story, some of my pros of the movie, and some of the cons of the movie, and really if you should check this movie out at all. Alright, so the movie starts off kind of during World War II, near the end. A Japanese pilot and an American pilot crash onto this mysterious island, and they're at each other's throats until Kong intervenes, and which is really crazy, and that's kind of the setup of the movie. And then it flashes forward to 1973. John Goodman and one of his other scientist partners, they're both kind of academics and scientists who are trying to survey the Earth, but you really don't know their motives to what they're trying to do. They're trying to get this expedition going to this island that is, you know, mythical, but really no one's really found it. It's kind of like the Bermuda Triangle, and there's actually a funny joke with that in this opening scene here. But anyways, they eventually get permission. They track down a couple of people. They track down the tracker, who Tom Hiddleston is just a badass character in this movie, which for some reason is really just, to me, strange. I don't know. I always just see him as Loki. I don't know. I need to see more films with him in it. They track down Brie Larson, who's a photographer, who's an anti-war photographer. So this is during the Vietnam era, and there was a lot of anti-war kind of things going on with the war. And then there's Sam Jackson, who the war just ended, and he really wants something to do, and so they're about to be, you know, deployed back home. But what happens is their entire unit called to action to help John Goodman be a military escort to the island. And so there's a bunch of people going to this island. They're trying to figure it out. There's some scientists, there's some military personnel, there's the tracker, Tom Hiddleston, and there's a photographer, Brie Larson. They go to this island, and one of the coolest scenes of this film, and I'll talk about it a little bit in the pros and cons, is there's a helicopter sequence that happens when there's a huge storm surrounding Skull Island, and they're trying to figure out, like, what's in that storm, like, should we even, you know, do it? They go through it, and what happens is, initially, they're surveying the land by dropping bombs. You've seen this in the trailer, I'm not giving anything really away. And then Kong shows up, all shit breaks loose. Alright, that's all I really want to talk about with the story. I don't want to get too into depth, because that's a lot of the stuff has been already talked about in the trailer, and if you haven't seen it, sorry I spoiled that, but I want to talk about some pros and then some cons. Alright, some of the pros I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed the 1970s kind of vibe of this film. It had a really cool color contrast and saturation to this film that just made it pretty unique, but it felt kind of Apocalypse Now-y, and I really enjoyed that aesthetic of the film, that the colors and contrasts were really, really well done. Moving on from there to a less serious note, I really enjoyed Steve Brule, aka John C. Reilly, in this movie. I forgot to mention him because he pops up in the movie a little bit later, and he just pretty much, if you understand Tim and Eric or know who Steve Brule is, he pretty much plays himself, just a crazy whack job, kind of just bumbling idiot who says a lot of the funniest lines in the movie, and I really appreciate that he adds the comic relief to this film, where it's half and toes into seriousness / action adventure, but also at the same time there's some comedy in there too, just to, you know, make it more, I guess, human in my eyes. Another thing is I want to say that Kong looked really, really well done, and I liked his CGI effects that they did with him, and I thought that his movements were pretty natural, and a lot of this work I could tell was being putting into this film, and it just blends in naturally with the color saturation, which I mentioned a little bit earlier. So that's a couple of the things that I really enjoyed about this film. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the cons that I didn't really enjoy about this movie. So I just talked about how much I liked Kong in the movie and how much I liked the design of Kong. I didn't really enjoy the CGI or camera work in this film, because the CGI is overly done, and I could tell a lot of the sequences were just overdone and over the top, and kind of just took me away from out of the film a little bit. I'm like, oh, I'm watching a video game or something. There's some awkward scenes. There's a scene where someone kind of becomes King Leonidas in the 300s, slashing things, and I remembered immediately of that scene in 300 where King Leonidas was just chopping down Persians, and this kind of just reminded me of the same exact thing. And I just thought, like, well, that's weird to put that in this movie. And there's a couple other scenes that just, you know, that just don't make any sense to me, and really took me out of the film a little bit. Another thing here that I really didn't really enjoy was there was a lot of odd dialogue, and a lot of the characters really you didn't really invest in the characters too much, because there was a lot of weird one-liners that really didn't fit the story. It was oddly juxtaposed into the movie, and I didn't understand the direction of what the director was trying to get at here. on some of those aspects. And there's not much to like about Brie Larson. I mean, I love Brie Larson, but like in this movie, there's nothing there. It just doesn't really feel like anything. And same with Tom Hiddleston, kind of just being that badass tracker. Like, yeah, he adds some stuff to this, but like the only person who really had any, I guess, depth in my eyes was Kong himself, which he really didn't get too much involved with, and also just a little bit of Dr. Stephen Brule, aka John C. Reilly's character. I liked a lot of it too. But that's a couple of the cons I didn't really enjoy about the film. All right, weighing those pros and cons, I kind of feel like this is just a 3 out of 5 on my scale. So it's definitely worth a watch, but I'm probably not going to own this movie. It's definitely just a cheesy popcorn movie. You get to turn your brain off a little bit and watch the film and just enjoy the spectacle that is it feels like a summer blockbuster, honestly. And so if you have that mindset, definitely go check out Kong Skull Island. With that being said, thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch this. And like, comment, share down below, and I'll see you next time. I'm not jonesing around.